A president is a public servant. They are temporary occupants of the office by design.
The political atmosphere in the United States right now is pretty much heated and has been brewing for a while now. Social media is flooded by differing views, and politicians have been head-on matters that concern party and personal interests. At the beginning of all the drama, the media was struck by the news of a raid on Obama's property, with many alleging that documents containing state secrets were found in his possession. However, there have been various speculations on what has been found. Join us as we open up the whole story. In 2018, there emerged a growing social media speculation that authorities had raided the home of the former U.S. President Barack Obama. The news had spread quite aggressively on social media, which had ignited heated talks about political accountability and the potential atrocities of top-rank officials. The rumor started when abuse of power and corruption by international leaders became a central debate among the public. Many who thought that the rumor was real viewed the occurrence as proof for centuries of speculation on whether political leaders conduct themselves poorly behind the scenes. That a highly renowned personality such as Obama would be the focus of such action escalated broader discussions concerning justice, and everyone watched to see if the law would be allowed to take its course. Obama's case was compared to other scandals involving other top politicians, opening up broader discussions on government transparency. Despite the fact that many government handles debunked the rumor still spread like wildfire, triggering a public response. Fact-checking sites and investigative journalists tried to debunk the news, stating that anyone who pushed it further was spreading disinformation or straight-up fantasy. If there had been a raid on Obama's property, it was highly unlikely that the authorities would have made the details public. However, there was no reason at the time for the authorities to order a search of Obama's property. The left-leaning media houses such as The Washington Post and The New York Times, and fact-checking sites such as Snopes and PolitiFact, all conducted serious research that established that the rumored raid never happened. Even right-wing media outlets, after subjecting Obama's administration to critical scrutiny to a large extent, accepted the fact that the raid never happened. However, despite the clarity that was provided on the matter, many still speculate about the raid. They believed that the government might be trying to cover up for one of its own, sparking broader issues of political corruption and selective justice. Others argued that the mass media were conspirators and fostered cynicism of the mainstream news. The incident was characteristic of the prevailing political climate, which has spread well into the following years. Many talked about the role the media had to play in the spread of the rumor, while many others focused on the political figures. While the backstory was ultimately unfounded, the indignation that it generated has led to the questioning of the role politicians play, the power of the media to influence overall opinion, and the disruptive nature of rumors in present-day public debate. When the rumors about the so-called raid on Barack Obama's compound were starting to take hold, the former president and his lawyers were initially quiet. The silence, in fact, spawned more speculation because some believed that this was an indication that there had to have been some basis for the rumors. However, as the rumor continued, Obama's aides were finally forced to make a statement. His spokesman dismissed the allegations as entirely false and without any merit. They indicated that there was no raid and that everything was fabricated to mislead the public. Obama himself did not directly address the matter, choosing instead to focus on his public events. His reaction was also consistent with the way he had reacted to previous conspiracy rumors, choosing not to react and allowing accurate reporting to debunk the misinformation. His attorneys were more aggressive in combating the accusations, ensuring that major fact-checking outlets had adequate information to dispel the myth. They worked closely with media outlets to establish that no security agent had ever conducted any search on Obama's property. Despite all the disapproval, skeptics have continued searching for proof, with some alleging some sort of cover-up. All parts of Obama's public life were examined on internet forums, analyzing his body language, travel itineraries, and speech subjects for any hint he was concealing something. Some looked for loopholes in his schedules, proposing that he might be covertly tending to legal matters. Others went the extreme, monitoring his activities on the internet, looking for inconsistencies and deviation from routine. Freelance researchers and news organizations scoured police reports, official documents, and even surveillance footage shot by aircraft flying overhead Obama's home, and saw nothing to support the argument. Other skeptics questioned how such an operation could have occurred and not be reported by some legitimate news outlet. If a former president of the United States actually had been raided by law enforcement, they argued, there would be incontrovertible legal and media proof and not social media speculation. This clash of speculation and reality served to further underscore the gap between individuals' consumption and interpretation of information. Whereas some relied on firm reporting and official denials to determine the truth, others chose to believe in the existence of covert corruption. The rumors of the alleged raid finally dissipated from popular discourse, but they remained a lingering testament to the manner in which misinformation endures, despite overwhelming evidence to the contrary. When the FBI raided Donald Trump's Mar-a-Lago club in August of 2022, people couldn't help but make a comparison of the rumor that the FBI raided Obama's residence. However, in Trump's case, the raid was proven to have happened. This sparked wider political debates, causing tensions to run high. To Trump supporters, the raid had been informed by double standards, where Obama had not been treated in such a manner, alleging that Trump had been unnecessarily singled out. For others, the spread of unsubstantiated rumors regarding Obama had appeared to be creating an atmosphere in which people had to become skeptical, even when there were legitimate legal cases taken against Trump. Many believed that the raid on Mar-a-Lago, which was backed by allegations that Trump was holding on to classified papers, was nothing beyond a political witch hunt right from the start. Trump supporters marked the raid as a move to intimidate Donald Trump, but others believed the authorities were just doing their job. However, the set of people who had believed the rumored raid on Obama believed that if the authorities could raid Trump's residence, there could still be a possibility that the raid on Obama's residence happened and is being covered up. There was armchair speculation abundant on social media over whether other previous presidents were just as guilty of the same vices, but were merely never caught. Apart from simple comparisons, more and more Americans believed super-sensationalized crackdowns on former leaders, genuine or perceived, were making bad examples. Other people feared political retribution had become the new Washington standard, and every administration cracks down on the opposition when out of office. Trump's detractors were worried that bullying the previous presidents with law enforcement would break public faith in institutions and further polarize America. The media, capitalizing on the trend, began to speculate about how the Trump raid was setting precedents for the future. It was argued by some that the country never prosecuted former presidents because it did not wish to destabilize the government by prosecuting them. Others argued that nobody was above the law and that if there was a crime, the law had to be enforced, no matter the office which the individual previously occupied. To Americans, the case was more a matter of whether the apparatus of justice had been converted into a tool of political warfare. And as the debate went back and forth, it was clear that the analogies with the Obama conspiracy theory and the Trump raid had escalated to a deeper national matter concerning institutional trust, the political future, and whether or not these events are creating issues that would harm the nation sooner or later. Despite the fact that many have confirmed that the rumored raid on Obama's property was false, there have been people who believed that if it did happen, coupled with the later raid of Trump's residence, then it shows that the American institution still reigns supreme. The contrasts drawn between the rumored raid on Obama and the raid on Trump's Mar-a-Lago residence have pointed to the deepening gulf between Republicans and Democrats, fueling an already heated political atmosphere in America. The scandal is no longer simply a debate over political accountability. It has become a more general metaphor for mistrust, with each party assuming the other is politicizing institutions for their own purposes. That has eroded genuine dialogue, with bias and political persecution charges in the foreground, instead of a shared commitment to justice. To Republicans, the raid on Mar-a-Lago was irrefutable evidence the justice system was politicized against political opponents. They argued that Trump, a then former president, was being singled out unfairly in a way Democrats were never singled out. In this view, the refusal to investigate Obama on any grounds, despite persistent charges of impropriety by conservatives, was proof that federal agencies employ a double standard, protecting liberal targets while energetically pursuing conservatives. This attitude has fostered deep-seated resentment among conservative voters, sustaining the impression that institutions like the FBI and DOJ have been captured as Democratic Party tools rather than as neutral agents of the law. Among Democrats, they regarded the raid on Trump as a law enforcement concern, saying that if there was mishandling of classified information, there had to be consequences, regardless of the political party the person belonged to. To Democrats, Trump's claims of being unjustly persecuted is a strategic diversion in order to mobilize his base and dodge accountability. But some Democrats also conceded tensions were rising in the country and were appalled at how Trump's response to the raid, framing it as an assault on all conservatives, was increasingly fueling political unrest. They worried that rhetoric would fuel rising aggression, even violence, as supporters could be urged to confront government agencies perceived as corrupt. This turn of events has only deepened an already polarized political climate, where all significant events are framed in terms of party allegiance and not objective fact. Institutions are eroding trust, and rather than Americans being united around a common set of principles of justice, they are increasingly coming to hold opinions along party lines. As a result, rhetoric in politics has grown more ferocious, with leaders from both sides of the aisle using shrill language to demonize their rivals rather than compromise. It also describes a growing fear that America is moving towards a cycle of political revenge, in which every new administration feels it's entitled to punish previous ones. Such an evolution would fundamentally alter the nation's democratic standards and make the act of governing all about settling scores rather than serving the public. With every scandal emerging, the partisan divide grows, and many wonder if the nation is able to recall a political climate in which facts prevail over narratives and institutions are able to regain lost trust. The rumored raid on Obama also caused many to look back at the reputation he has built for himself over the years. Barack Obama has been one of the country's most powerful political voices since leaving the presidency in 2017, influencing public opinion, policy discussions, and the future of the Democratic Party. He has been more publicly visible than nearly any other former president, with open declarations, speeches, endorsements, and calculated insertion into pivotal political fights. That he is still such a presence to be reckoned with in government is a testament to his enduring popularity, as well as to the polarized American political landscape. Obama's impact has mostly been felt during election years when his endorsement is worth so much. His grassroots and social media campaign trail continues to mobilize the base and add to the overall message of the Democratic Party. When not in campaign season, Obama has been a relentless champion of policies reminiscent of the legacy of his own term, including more health care, expansion of voting rights, and climate policy. His ability to keep issues in the spotlight and mobilize support has led him to be relevant in political debates, always at the forefront of controversy for opposition party leaders, who view his ongoing popularity as a threat. Obama's policies have always differed from the Republican Party on topics such as immigration, healthcare, and regulation of finance. His support of the Affordable Care Act, now his signature legislation as president, remains a bipartisan lightning rod. Retired, he has battled to save the law from repeal, using the bully pulpit repeatedly to dismiss Republican attacks and call for expanded healthcare reform. Similarly, his activist strategy for global warming, advocating clean energy policies and worldwide agreements like the Paris Accord, has appealed to right-wing politicians who resent deregulation and more fossil fuels. His rebuttal of criticism has been consistent with the guarded and centrist line he pursued when he was president. Rather than depending on confrontation or inflammatory speech, Obama has most often responded with fact-based responses and appeals to more universal national ideals. His speeches and public remarks always stress unity, challenging Americans to transcend divisive politics while still challenging opposition narratives. This has enabled him to remain credible, without forsaking the Democratic base. However, some believe he should be battling more intensely with political enemies. The news that his home was searched was popular in American politics, exposing some of the underlying strains of distrust, disinformation, and the new role of former presidents in party battles. Though entirely false, the rumor did travel around the world at a pace, which illustrated even further just how quickly unsubstantiated rumor could spread. It continued on to spread further, illustrating a greater political application of conspiracy theories as a tool. Some saw the rumored raid as undermining the legitimacy of official structures and also with the aim to divert attention away from other issues. The continuation of the story of the raid demonstrated that partisanship had corrupted the ideology of truth and reality. People who had believed the rumor cared less about whether the rumor was precisely true than about how it was highly unlikely that Obama, who had no case with the authorities at the time, would be raided under any guise. For conservatives, the rumored raid appealed to them, not necessarily because there was truly anything against Obama, but because it would verify that no one in politics is above the law. Democrats regarded the rumor as merely another case of organized disinformation intended to discredit one of their strongest champions. This imbalance reflected the degree to which loyalties had been politicized to the detriment of many Americans' seeming preference for ideological narrative at the expense of truth. On a broader scale, the rumor set a precedent for the use of the media in politics in the modern age, where social media and partisan news sources can spread misinformation on a large scale. It also worked to test the possible long-term effects of disinformation in politics, where institutional trust was already compromised. If a totally imaginary story against a former president could be plausible, it then meant that political tension in the United States could take a whole new turn. The effects are widespread and also indicate the erosion of public confidence in democratic institutions. Moreover, the event solidified former presidents as politically polarizing symbols of controversy, even many years into their. Former presidents have grown used to taking politicized advisory roles, avoiding getting into the trenches of party war. With Obama remaining a prominent Democratic presence and Trump an active Republican Party leader, lines between earlier and contemporary political leaders have become progressively blurred. This has also helped to further polarize national discourse, with Obama and Trump themselves continuing to be subjects of several political discourses that have plagued the United States recently. Obama's reaction to the rumors was characteristic of how he had reacted to earlier scandals, as Obama did not explicitly deny the rumor, but allowed fact-checkers and the media to handle the falsehood. By not further legitimizing the conspiracy theory by confronting it head-on, he did not add fuel to the fire. His response helped to effectively keep the rumor from engulfing traditional discourse, but simultaneously indicated the shortcomings of traditional fact-checking in an era where false information spread faster than expected. With American politics remaining on the edge of crisis, the Obama raid rumor is a testament to the nature of modern political narratives. It proved that increasingly, popular opinion is determined by ideological prejudice instead of fact-checking, and that even after resigning from politics, political figures continue to be at the heart of national controversy. The rumor also showed that we are at a time where even former presidents will be actively engaged in the shaping of party agendas and popular opinions with different objectives. Obama's voice in politics continues to gain attention, even in recent elections. Whenever it proves challenging for the leadership of the Democratic Party to control public attention, his voice has been among the top policy shapers and has been used in mobilizing the voters. At the same time, the opposition will likely continue labeling him as the embodiment of democratic orthodoxy, reviving ghosts from the past in a bid to rally their supporters. This fear is only one facet of the greater challenge of American democracy, as Americans face challenges on how to navigate the age of hyperpolarization, combat disinformation, and restore trust in institutions, broadly seen as having been converted into a weapon of political warfare. That brings us to the end of the video. We will see you in the next one.